the shadow of a world engulfed in turmoil, the early 20th century heralded the onset of World War I. Among the countless tales of valor, one narrative of unparalleled bravery and tenacity emerged, that of the 369th U.S. Infantry Regiment. Known as the Harlem Hellfighters, this unit not only challenged the enemies on the battlefield, but also defied the racial prejudice of their time. For a relentless 191 days without reprieve, these men stood their ground on the French front line, enduring conditions unfathomable to most, fighting longer than any American unit in the war's entirety. The Harlem Hellfighters earned their formidable reputation in the crucible of combat, a title inspired by their very adversaries on the battlefield. German soldiers, seasoned by war's ruthless nature, hesitated at the prospect of clashing with these fierce African-American troops. Accounts from captured Germans depicted a profound reluctance to engage with the Hellfighters, a testament to the respect and fear they commanded. Within this cauldron of war, prejudice gave way to a grudging admiration, marking these men as an indomitable force, wielding valor as their weapon. Before the war beckoned, Henry Johnson lived a life marked by simplicity, far removed from the echoes of fame. From Winston-Salem, North Carolina, his path was paved with mundane jobs that juxtaposed starkly against his destined heroism. In 1916, answering the call of duty, Johnson enlisted in the all-black 15th New York Infantry. Little did he know that this decision would transform him from an ordinary citizen to a symbol of indomitable courage. As America's involvement in the Great War became inevitable, the 15th New York Infantry swelled with volunteers, men eager to serve the land that offered them limited freedoms. Amidst Lafayette Hall's confines, these recruits transitioned into soldiers, each step in training a step away from civilian life and towards an uncertain future on foreign soils. For them, this was not just a duty. It was an opportunity to dispel stereotypes and demand respect through valor. Against the backdrop of segregation and pervasive bias within American society, November 1917 marked a crucial juncture for Johnson's unit as they departed for France. Absorbed by the French Army's 16th Division, they found solace in fellowship rather than prejudice. This alliance, born out of necessity and shared goals, stood in stark contrast to the discrimination back home. For the first time, these soldiers fought alongside allies who judged them not by their skin color, but by their courage and integrity. As fate would have it, a night in May 1918 became the crucible for Henry Johnson's gallantry. Assigned to a sentry post alongside Needham Roberts, suspicions of nearby German snipers loomed over them, casting an ominous shadow on their vigil. Yet their earnest concerns were met with disdain from superiors who couldn't fathom the impending trial by fire these men were about to face, a trial that would immortalize them in the annals of heroism. The night's quiet was a deceptive prelude to chaos. A sniper's bullet, narrowly missing its mark, signaled the looming threat. Johnson and Roberts, stationed on watch, found their fears dismissed by superiors. Unshaken, Johnson prepared, his instincts forewarning him of an inevitable clash. With foresight, he arranged grenades within reach, bracing for the storm that loomed in the shadowed trenches of no man's land. This night was poised to sculpt history, forged by valiance and a soldier's unwavering resolve. The eerie sound of wire cutters slicing through barriers shattered the silence, heralding an onslaught. Johnson clutched his rifle, a sentinel in the night, as shadows moved with hostile intent. With the outpost's safety resting upon his shoulders, he strategically placed grenades, a grim welcome for the advancing German forces. In this moment, amidst the thickening gloom, a stark reality unfurled. Conflict was nearing its crescendo, a test of valor against the encroaching specter of war. As the battle raged, Roberts was struck down, grievously injured. Johnson, in a compendium of courage, directed Roberts to aid their defense by passing grenades. Although wounded, his spirit remained indomitable. He engaged the enemy with fervor that belied human limits. Each grenade thrown was a testament to their resolve, their refusal to succumb. In this dire crucible, Johnson transcended mere mortality, embodying the heart of a warrior undeterred by affliction or fear. With ammunition spent and his rifle jammed, Johnson's resolve did not waver. Transitioning his weapon into a club, he met the enemy's advance with raw determination. Each swing was a desperate symphony of survival, a dance on the knife edge of mortality. Against an onslaught that sought to overwhelm him, Johnson's defiance was as potent as any bullet, his will an unbreakable fortress amidst chaos. In this arena of conflict, he stood undaunted, a singular force against the tide. Faced with imminent peril and his rifle useless, Johnson grasped his bolo knife, his last bastion of hope. In the intimacy of combat, he confronted a German assailant head-on. It was a fierce duel, pitting courage against cruelty, life against impending doom. With a decisive plunge of his blade, Johnson shifted fate's balance, epitomizing the quintessence of valor. This defining act was not only about survival, it was about asserting an indomitable will against seemingly insurmountable odds. In an ultimate test of loyalty and bravery, Johnson noticed attempts to capture Roberts. His response was instantaneous, a ferocious countercharge that stunned his aggressors. In a whirlwind of valor, Johnson dispatched the would-be captors, safeguarding his comrade from enemy hands. As reinforcements rolled in, daylight unveiled the toll exacted on the German forces, an indelible testament to one man's indomitable courage and an unyielding resolve to protect a brother in arms. Through bloodshed and tears, Henry Johnson emerged, not just victorious, but transcendent, a legend carved in the annals of gallantry. As the first light of dawn pierced the darkness, the battlefield unveiled the true extent of Henry Johnson's heroic stand. Across the torn landscape lay the evidence of his defiance, the bodies of German soldiers, and the detritus of their defeat scattered around. For those who gazed upon this scene, it was clear. Johnson's actions had cemented his place in history. This was no ordinary battle. It was a statement of courage, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a man who stood against insurmountable odds. The story of Henry Black Death Johnson swelled beyond the battlefield, capturing hearts and imaginations worldwide. His narrative was one of unmatched bravery, a beacon for soldiers and civilians alike, shining through the grim realities of war. This was a man who, despite the systemic injustices of his time, rose to embody the very essence of courage. Johnson's legacy was not confined to the accolades or medals, but resided in the hope and inspiration he offered to countless others. France recognized Johnson's valor early on, awarding him the Croix de Guerre with a special citation for gallantry. This was more than a medal. It was a declaration from an allied nation that valor knows no color. In that moment, Henry Johnson was not just a soldier from Harlem. He was an international hero whose bravery transcended borders, a courageous soul honored by those he helped to defend. It took far too long for America to recognize its own hero. The journey to acknowledgement was a winding path that saw Johnson posthumously decorated with the Purple Heart, the Distinguished Service Cross, and finally, the Medal of Honor in 2015. This long overdue recognition was not merely a correction of oversight. It was a reclamation of a hero's rightful place in American history, an acknowledgement that bravery and sacrifice are boundless. Self-effacing and humble, Johnson likened himself to a rabbit caught in a struggle for survival. Yet from this self-described modesty emerged a figure larger than life. His story is not just one of combat, but of immense personal valor, where instinct coalesced with an unyielding drive to protect and persevere. Henry Johnson's humility only magnifies his heroism, teaching us that heroes often see themselves in ordinary light, even when their deeds are anything but. The epic narrative of Henry Johnson and the Harlem Hellfighters transcends the confines of military history to touch the very core of human resilience and spirit. Their story is a potent reminder that heroes come from all walks of life, that courage and sacrifice know no racial bounds. By honoring their memory, we not only celebrate their valorous deeds, but also pave the way for a future where acts of bravery are judged by their merit, not the color of one's skin. The legacy of Johnson and his comrades endures, a beacon for generations past and those yet to come.